Dark Shadow started in '66 in Studio 2, black and white, analog, none of all the fancy stuff that we have today in the business. It was an interesting concept that wasn't working too well until the creative persons, the writers, Dan Curtis and his writers, decided to take the show a step away from the ordinary into the mystical, into the vampire world. And it found a new life, and it became extremely popular. We worked out of TV2, but shortly after, I guess about maybe, I doubt if it was even a year later, we went to 53rd Street to a studio that was built. There was a lumber business in this building on 53rd Street, and it was available, and they were able to strip the thing back to the walls and install all of the electronics that we needed, and it became the Dark Shadows studio. And the challenges of building the show in this studio really fell to the designer, and I have to mention Cy Tomaszek because he was really, really special. The scenery that he built and the way he handled it was really very special. We had an interesting working arrangement because taking the show into vampire land meant special effects. You've got to make it mysterious, you've got to make it, how do they do that kind of thing, you know. How do they do that? And it wound up that we would have a pre-show conference with the producer. Bob Costello was top-notch, the director, Leela, or Henry Kaplan, or some of the others that came in from time to time, the writers, and the Mel Handelsman, the lighting engineer, who was top-notch, and we would discuss what the upcoming productions required. If something special had to happen, if a hand had to float through the scenery, or a person had to disappear and appear, if they had to dance in the shadows, you know, if the bat had to flop its wings outside a window, all these crazy things, we would discuss the effect. Bob Costello would write out a storyboard where he would have pictures of what he expected to be able to see. We had trick mirrors where a character will look into a mirror, see his image, which would melt into another image in the same mirror. So we did a lot of that. We really extended. We had, as a matter of fact, at one point, the stagehand, who was our property master, we asked him to build us a kaleidoscope. And he got a big mailing tube, you know, like a 6-inch mailing tube, and he had a glazier cut, 3 slices of mirror, which he mounted inside this thing, and we mounted it so it could be turned, so it could rotate, and we had a kaleidoscope. Well, all that sounds pretty primitive these days because that was all analog. As soon as the business became digital, all of the software writers, they're the ones who invented the special effects because they could manipulate the pixels in the picture. And but when we had to invent this stuff on a week-to-week basis, it was really, it was fascinating. And because we were on 53rd Street, we became a family because we all met there, the actors, all the production people, the stagehands, all the technical crew and so forth. We came to work together. We left together. Sometimes we came to work. It was still dark outside, and we leave late at night. It was dark again. And it became a really comfortable kind of a working unit that we had there. My job was especially gratifying for me because I was able to be tested that was tested all the time about technical things. Could we do this? Could we do that? Could we, or how do we conceptualize this kind of an idea? That sort of thing. And it was challenging for us, the contribution of the lighting and manipulating the electronics to the extent that we were able to do that, made life very interesting. It was very trying. Sometimes the tension was tremendous. Of course, we produced a show a day. We'd come in the morning to a new set layout. We'd have a working script that was prepared by the director. That working script had to be translated into a shot sequence for all of the cameras. The actors had to walk through their parts. They would walk through them upstairs. There was a room upstairs which was a rehearsal hall in which the production assistants and the associate director would lay out with tape on the floor what the scenery would look like. But once they got into the studio, they had to get marked. They had to know where to go, where to stand, when to turn, when to look up, when to sit down. All of these things which are involved in translating the script into action, into live action with actors. And it started in the morning by just learning what was going on, and with a complete show in the evening. You know, when after a run through, or maybe two run throughs, a dress rehearsal, to tape, and sophisticated editing was not available in those days. You edited with a razor blade and Scotch tape. So, you know, like I say, when the industry became digitized and you had the sophisticated editing equipment, you could do all sorts of things in the edit room. So that challenge of coming in the evening with a complete show was extant. You know, Joan Bennett was a Hollywood star of great accomplishment. That she played a big role in Dark Shadows. And one day, forgot the name, a well-known Hollywood director, but from the old time, when Joan was a little girl, came in, and he was amazed. He couldn't believe what happened, what transpired from the morning to the evening when we put a complete show in the can. And that happened every day for us.